Here's a shocking fact. Almost half of people over 60 have less than $50,000 saved for retirement. Now, pause and think about that for a moment. Imagine working hard your entire life, only to realize that when the paychecks stop coming in, the money you've set aside could run out in just a few short years. That reality is more common than you think, and it's not just numbers, it's about people's lives, choices, and futures. But here's the good news. Being 60 is not the end of the road. In fact, it can be the turning point where you take control of your financial story. Whether you have a modest savings account, a decent nest egg, or nothing at all, what matters most right now is the plan you create moving forward. Think of this as a reality check, but not one meant to scare you. It's a gentle wake-up call, a reminder that retirement isn't about comparing yourself to others or feeling guilty about what you didn't do. It's about asking yourself, what steps can I take today to make my future brighter, safer, and freer? So if you've ever wondered, how much should I really have saved by 60? Or if you've secretly worried that you're already too late, stay with me. Because in this guide, we'll walk through practical tips, smart strategies, and even surprising opportunities that can help you build security no matter where you're starting. And the next tip I'm going to share may completely change the way you think about retirement. Meet Eldric. At first glance, you might think he's just another ordinary man in his early 60s. He spent most of his adult life working as a bus driver in a small town, waking up before dawn, greeting passengers with a warm smile, and faithfully clocking in his shifts. For nearly 4 decades, Eldric carried children to school, neighbors to work, and retirees to their appointments. He was dependable, respected, and liked by almost everyone in the community. But behind that familiar smile, there was something Eldric rarely thought about: his future after the bus stopped running. 4 years, retirement seemed like a faraway dream. I'll figure it out later, he'd tell himself whenever someone mentioned savings or pensions. His focus was always on the present, raising his kids, paying the bills, fixing the roof when it leaked. Like so many people, he believed that retirement would somehow work itself out when the time came. But life has a way of catching up with us. One evening, just weeks after his 60th birthday, Eldric sat at his kitchen table, looking at a stack of mail. In between a utility bill and a flyer for discounted groceries was a letter about his retirement benefits. Out of curiosity, he logged in to check his savings. The number on the screen startled him. After decades of working, he had far less set aside than he ever imagined. The realization hit hard. If he stopped working tomorrow, he wouldn't even last a few years before running out of money. That night, Eldric couldn't sleep. He kept replaying questions in his mind. Had I wasted too much time? Was I already too late? Would I become a burden on my children? These are questions many people over 60 quietly ask themselves but rarely say out loud. Eldric suddenly felt the weight of his decisions, or rather, the lack of them. But here's where Eldric's story takes a turn. Instead of letting fear control him, he decided to take action. He began learning, asking questions, and making changes, small steps at first, but steps that grew into a clear path forward. Eldric's journey reminds us that it's never too late to rewrite your financial story. And as you listen to his example, you might see pieces of your own life reflected in his, because his struggles, his doubts, and ultimately his solutions are not just his. They belong to millions of people stepping into their 60s and asking the same questions about retirement security. That's why Eldric's story is more than just a personal account. It's a guide, a living roadmap for anyone who feels uncertain about where they stand today and where they want to be tomorrow. Tip 1. Know the benchmark. Let's start with the first and perhaps the most eye-opening step, knowing the benchmark. Many people drift into their 60s without ever asking, how much should I really have saved by now? And the truth is, not knowing the target can be just as dangerous as not saving at all. Because if you don't know where the finish line is, how can you pace yourself for the race? Financial experts often use a simple rule of thumb. By age 60, you should ideally have 6 to 8 times your annual income saved. That means if you're earning $50,000 a year, your nest egg should be somewhere between $300,000 and $400,000. This might sound like a huge number, and for some, it feels completely out of reach. But here's where perspective matters. That benchmark isn't meant to scare you, and it's not a rigid law written in stone. It's simply a guideline to give you a sense of where you stand and how much breathing room you may have as you approach retirement. Think of it like a fuel gauge in your car. You don't always need a full tank to reach your destination, but you do need to know how much gas you have before you start the journey. The benchmark helps you check your fuel level for retirement. If you're close to the number, it means you're on track and can focus on fine-tuning your strategy. If you're behind, it's not a reason to panic. It's a signal that you need to make adjustments now, while there's still time. Eldric, the bus driver we met earlier, went through this exact reality check. When he discovered that he had only saved about 2 times his annual income, he felt discouraged at first. But that moment of clarity became a turning point. Instead of giving up, he used the benchmark as motivation. It gave him a concrete target and showed him exactly how much catching up he needed to do. Without that knowledge, he would have continued living in denial. This is why benchmarks are powerful. They transform vague worries into specific numbers. And when you have a number, you have something you can work toward. It's far easier to plan, budget, and save when you know the size of the gap between where you are and where you'd like to be. So here's my question for you. How close are you to this number? Are you above it, right around it, or still working your way up? Be honest with yourself, and if you're comfortable, share your thoughts in the comments. You might be surprised how many others are in the exact same place as you. Remember, knowing the benchmark isn't about comparing yourself to your neighbor or feeling guilty about the past. It's about understanding your starting point so you can make smarter decisions today. Whether you're ahead, behind, or somewhere in the middle, awareness is the first step toward taking control of your retirement future. Tip 2. Focus on lifestyle, not just numbers. Here's something most people overlook. Retirement isn't just about hitting a magic number, it's about building the life you want. Too often, we get caught up in comparing ourselves to charts, calculators, or even friends who brag about their savings. But the truth is, money only has meaning when you connect it to the way you actually want to live. Think about it this way. One person may dream of traveling the world, exploring new countries, and ticking off bucket list adventures. Another may want something simpler, staying in the home they've loved for decades, planting a garden, or being close to children and grandchildren. Both dreams are valid, but they require completely different financial plans. That's why focusing only on the numbers without asking, what kind of life do I want in retirement, can leave you feeling unfulfilled even if you've saved enough. For Eldric, this realization came when he thought about his grandchildren. His daughter had moved overseas for work, and he longed to visit her and spend real time with his grandkids. When he looked at his bank account, though, he realized he didn't just need a retirement fund, he needed a plan that allowed him to afford airfare, accommodations, and the joy of creating those family memories. That single dream gave him clarity. Instead of obsessing over whether he had exactly 6 or 7 times his income saved, he asked a more important question: what do I want my money to do for me? This mindset shift can change everything. If your retirement dream is to travel, you may need to budget more for flights and experiences but cut back on housing costs. If your dream is to stay in your home, you'll need to think about maintenance, property taxes, and maybe making renovations that keep your home safe as you age. If helping your grandchildren is important, your plan may include setting aside a small education fund or gifting money each year. The key is personalization. Retirement is not one size fits all. It's not just about do I have enough, but do I have enough for my lifestyle? That clarity makes saving and budgeting far less stressful because you're working towards something meaningful, not just an abstract number on a page. So here's a question for you. What does your dream retirement look like? Do you see yourself traveling, staying put, or maybe doing a mix of both? Share your vision in the comments. It might inspire someone else who's still figuring it out. Remember, retirement should feel like a reward for a lifetime of work, not a punishment for not saving enough. The benchmark gives you direction, but your lifestyle goals give your money purpose. And that purpose is what will keep you motivated to stick to the plan. Tip 3. Supercharge catch-up contributions. One of the biggest misconceptions about saving for retirement is that once you hit 60, the window of opportunity is closed. But the truth is, this stage of life actually unlocks a unique advantage: catch-up contributions. It's a powerful tool designed specifically for people who may have fallen behind or who simply want to build an extra cushion before they stop working. Here's how it works. If you're under 50, there are strict limits on how much you can put into retirement accounts like a 401k or an IRA each year. But once you turn 50, the rules change in your favor. You're allowed to contribute more than the standard limit, giving you the chance to pack extra savings into those critical last years before retirement. By age 60, this opportunity becomes even more valuable because every dollar you add grows tax-deferred, meaning your money works harder without the government taking a bite out of it right away. Let's put this into perspective. Imagine you contribute the maximum to your 401k and then add the additional catch-up amount allowed. That's thousands of extra dollars every year. Over just 5 to 7 years, those contributions, plus the compound growth they generate, can dramatically increase your retirement balance. It's like turning the savings dial up to high speed at exactly the time you need it most. Eldric discovered this when he met with a financial advisor. At first, he was discouraged by how far behind he felt compared to the benchmarks. But when he learned he could put an extra $7,500 into his retirement account each year, everything changed. He restructured his budget, cut back on small expenses, and made those catch-up contributions a priority. Within a few short years, his retirement savings looked entirely different, not perfect, but strong enough to give him confidence that he wouldn't run out of money too soon. This is why catch-up contributions are such a game changer. They're not just about the money you add, but the mindset shift they create. Instead of feeling powerless, you realize there's still room to make meaningful progress. And the best part? You don't need decades to see results. You can feel the difference in just a handful of years. So if you're in your early 60s, ask yourself, am I taking full advantage of this opportunity? Even if you can't max it out, putting in something extra every year could make a huge impact. Share in the comments if you've tried using catch-up contributions, or if you're planning to start. You might inspire someone else who thinks it's too late to begin. Remember, retirement planning isn't about perfection. It's about progress. And catch-up contributions are one of the smartest ways to accelerate that progress right when it matters most. Tip 4. Delay and multiply. For many people entering their 60s, Social Security feels like a lifeline waiting just around the corner. After decades of work, the idea of finally collecting benefits is exciting, and often tempting to grab as soon as you qualify at 62. But here's the part most people don't realize. The longer you wait, the bigger your paycheck becomes. Delaying Social Security until age 70 can increase your benefits by 24 to 30% compared to taking them early. That's like giving yourself a permanent raise for the rest of your life. Think of it like this. Imagine two friends, both 62, standing at the starting line. One begins collecting Social Security right away, while the other decides to wait. The early collector gets smaller checks immediately, while the patient one has to wait, but once those larger checks begin at 70, they never shrink. Over time, the difference can add up to tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands, of extra dollars, depending on how long you live. It's one of the most reliable returns on investment available, and it doesn't involve the stock market or any risky moves. Eldric faced this exact decision. At 62, he considered starting Social Security right away because he felt behind in savings. But after doing the math, he realized that waiting until 70 would give him nearly 1/3 more each month. That extra money meant peace of mind, enough to cover rising healthcare costs, unexpected bills, and even the occasional trip to see his grandchildren. Instead of worrying about outliving his savings, he gained the confidence of knowing his guaranteed income would be stronger for the rest of his life. Of course, delaying isn't the right choice for everyone. If your health is poor or you truly need the money right away, taking it earlier may be the smarter path. But if you're still working, or if you have other savings to rely on in your 60s, waiting can transform your retirement income. It's not just about dollars, it's about security, stability, and reducing stress during your golden years. So here's the question for you. Would you be willing to wait a few extra years for a larger paycheck every month, for life? Think of it as planting seeds now to harvest a stronger, steadier income later. Share your thoughts in the comments. You may help someone else who's weighing the same decision. Remember, Social Security is one of the few guaranteed sources of income you'll ever have. Choosing when to claim it is one of the most powerful retirement decisions you can make. And for many, delaying is like giving yourself a raise that no boss or market downturn can ever take away. Tip 5. Cut back to move forward. One of the most overlooked strategies in retirement planning isn't about earning more or investing better, it's about spending smarter. The truth is, every dollar you don't spend is a dollar you can save, invest, or redirect toward the things that truly matter to you. And for many people in their 60s, trimming expenses is one of the fastest ways to strengthen financial security. But here's the catch: cutting back doesn't have to mean sacrificing your happiness. It's not about living miserably, it's about choosing wisely. Downsizing to a smaller home, for example, doesn't just reduce your mortgage or property taxes. It can also lower utility bills, maintenance costs, and even free you from the stress of taking care of a large space you no longer need. For some, that choice feels like gaining freedom, not losing comfort. Then there are the invisible drains on your wallet: subscriptions you forgot you had, memberships you rarely use, or that second vehicle that sits idle most of the week. Eldric learned this lesson firsthand. 4 years, he owned 2 cars, one for his daily commute and another that he kept just in case. When he finally looked at the numbers, he realized the second vehicle was costing him nearly $4,000 a year in insurance, fuel, and upkeep. That was money leaking out of his future. By selling it, he not only freed up cash but also redirected that money into his retirement account, where it began to grow instead of disappear. Here's the powerful truth: those small changes add up. Canceling $100 worth of unused subscriptions, trimming dining out, or renegotiating your insurance premiums may not seem like much in the moment. But multiply those savings across years, and you could be looking at tens of thousands of extra dollars to support your retirement. That's enough to cover medical bills, enjoy more travel, or simply reduce stress by knowing your savings will last longer. So here's a challenge for you: what's one expense you could live without starting today? Maybe it's that gym membership you never use, the oversized house that feels empty now that the kids are gone, or a habit like eating out 5 nights a week. Share your ideas in the comments. You might give someone else the inspiration they need to make a positive change. Remember, cutting back isn't about deprivation. It's about making room for the things that truly matter. By moving money away from what doesn't serve you and toward what does, you're not stepping backward, you're moving forward, one intentional choice at a time. Tip 6. Turn hobbies into income. When most people think about earning extra money in their 60s, they imagine long hours, stressful jobs, or work that feels like a burden. But what if I told you that one of the smartest ways to strengthen your retirement isn't about working harder, it's about doing more of what you already love? Yes, I'm talking about turning your hobbies into income. This might sound unusual at first, but it's more common than you think. People underestimate just how valuable their passions and skills can be to others. Whether it's gardening, sewing, woodworking, tutoring, or even sharing decades of professional expertise, hobbies can transform into meaningful side incomes. The beauty of this approach is that it doesn't just boost your bank account, it also brings joy, purpose, and sometimes even community connection during retirement. Eldric discovered this the moment he started tutoring kids in math. Math had always come naturally to him, and helping students succeed gave him a sense of fulfillment he never experienced behind the wheel of his bus. What surprised him most wasn't just the satisfaction, it was the steady $600 a month he began earning. That money alone was enough to cover his utility bills, giving him breathing room in his retirement budget. But the bigger win was how alive he felt. Instead of working in retirement, he was spending his time on something meaningful. And Eldric's story isn't unique. Some retirees grow vegetables in their gardens and sell them at local markets. Others sew, knit, or craft items to sell online or at community fairs. Retired teachers tutor, retired managers consult part-time, and some even write books, start YouTube channels, or teach skills they've mastered over decades. The options are endless, and many can be done from the comfort of home. Here's the secret: it doesn't have to replace a full-time income. Even a few $100 extra a month can make a huge difference. It could cover healthcare premiums, pay for a trip to see your grandchildren, or simply allow you to enjoy retirement with less financial stress. And unlike draining savings, this income flows in without reducing your nest egg. So ask yourself, What do I already enjoy doing that others might find valuable? Maybe you have a talent, a craft, or a passion you've overlooked. Share your ideas in the comments. You may inspire someone else to discover their hidden income stream. Remember, retirement is about freedom, and freedom means choosing how you spend your time. If you can turn your hobbies into income, you're not just making money, you're enriching your life with purpose, joy, and connection. That's the kind of retirement everyone deserves. Tip 7. Protect your nest egg. By the time you hit 60, the game of retirement savings changes. In your 30s or 40s, the focus might have been aggressive growth, stocks, real estate, or chasing high returns. But at 60, the rules shift. It's no longer just about growing your money, it's about protecting what you've built and making sure it lasts as long as you do. Think of your retirement savings like a fragile egg. At this stage, every crack matters. A market downturn, unexpected medical bill, or unchecked spending can quickly erode years of hard work. That's why smart retirees focus on wealth preservation strategies rather than risky bets. Eldric learned this the hard way when he watched a friend lose nearly a third of his savings during a market crash because he stayed heavily invested in high-risk stocks at 62. That wake-up call made Eldric rethink his own approach. One of the first changes he made was shifting a portion of his retirement account into safer, income-focused investments. Things like bonds, dividend-paying stocks, and annuities became part of his plan. These weren't flashy, but they provided stability and predictable cash flow. It was less about doubling his money quickly and more about ensuring he had reliable income no matter what the market did. But protecting your nest egg isn't just about investments. Eldric also realized the importance of health coverage. Medical expenses are one of the biggest threats to retirement savings. A single surgery or extended hospital stay can wipe out years of careful planning. So he prioritized getting strong Medicare coverage and supplemental insurance to shield himself from those financial shocks. It wasn't exciting, but it gave him priceless peace of mind. Finally, Eldric built something many retirees overlook, a retirement budget. Instead of guessing, he tracked his spending, categorized it into needs and wants, and created a realistic plan that stretched his savings further. This wasn't about restricting joy, it was about ensuring he could enjoy life without fear of running out of money. He even built in a cushion for fun activities like visiting his grandkids, knowing that balance was the key to lasting happiness. Here's the takeaway. Protecting your nest egg is about reducing risk, covering your bases, and creating a plan that lets you sleep at night. It's not just financial, it's emotional security. Because when you know your money is safe, you can finally focus on what retirement should really be about, living fully, not worrying constantly. If you had to choose one, cutting risk, getting better health coverage, or building a budget, what would give you the most peace of mind right now? Share your answer in the comments. Remember, wealth isn't just measured by numbers in an account. True wealth is the freedom to live your later years with dignity, joy, and security. Protecting your nest egg is the shield that makes that freedom possible. Tip 8. Redefine retirement. For many people, the word retirement sparks fear more than freedom. Questions like, do I have enough saved? Or what if I outlive my money? Play on repeat, creating anxiety instead of excitement. But here's the truth. Retirement is not about hitting a magic number, it's about how you shape this next chapter of your life. It's about freedom, not fear. Eldric's turning point came when he stopped obsessing over whether he had the perfect amount saved. For years, he compared himself to financial articles and wealthier friends, and each time he felt smaller, more behind. But then, one evening, sitting at his kitchen table, he had a realization: I may never have millions in the bank, but I can still have a rich life. That shift changed everything. Instead of asking, do I have enough? Eldric reframed the question into, how do I make the most of what I have? And suddenly, retirement didn't look like a finish line he wasn't ready for, it looked like a new beginning. He downsized to a cozier home, freeing himself from unnecessary costs. He leaned into tutoring math, which gave him both extra income and joy. He embraced travel, not extravagant world tours, but meaningful trips to visit his grandchildren and reconnect with family. Every choice wasn't about deprivation, but about maximizing the life he already had. And here's the lesson: Retirement doesn't have to look one way. For some, freedom means waking up without an alarm clock. For others, it's gardening, volunteering, or finally starting that passion project they never had time for. True wealth in retirement isn't measured only by dollars, it's measured by moments, purpose, and peace of mind. Yes, money matters. But mindset matters more. A person with $300,000 and a plan to live intentionally may feel far richer than someone with $1 million but constant fear of losing it. Eldric found happiness not by chasing more, but by appreciating and wisely using what he already had. So here's a question for you. What does freedom in retirement mean to you? Is it time with family, travel, hobbies, or simply living without financial stress? Share your answer in the comments. You never know who you might inspire. Remember, retirement isn't the end of your story, it's the start of a new chapter, one you get to write with your own pen. Redefine it your way, and you'll discover that freedom was never about a number in the first place. By the time you reach 60, it's easy to feel like the clock has run out. You might look at your savings and think, it's too late for me. But here's the truth, it is never too late to shape a better future. Whether you've saved a little or a lot, every choice you make today is a building block for the years ahead. Even small steps, downsizing expenses, delaying Social Security, picking up a side income, or protecting your nest egg, can create massive differences over time. Eldric's story is proof of this. At first, he felt overwhelmed, even embarrassed, about how unprepared he was. But instead of letting fear control him, he took action. He caught up on contributions, cut back on unnecessary expenses, turned his math skills into a source of joy and income, and redefined what retirement meant to him. He didn't chase an impossible number, he built a future around peace, purpose, and freedom. And that's something anyone watching this video can do too. The biggest mistake isn't having less saved than you should. The biggest mistake is doing nothing. Because each day you wait is an opportunity lost. But each step you take, no matter how small, is a gift to your future self. Imagine yourself 10 years from now, looking back with gratitude that you made the decision to act today. That version of you will say, thank you for not giving up. Thank you for choosing freedom over fear. So I want you to take this to heart. Your retirement is still in your hands. You have the power to protect it, to reshape it, and to redefine what it means for you. Whether that's traveling, spending time with loved ones, or simply enjoying your days without financial stress, it starts with a choice right now. If this video gave you clarity or encouragement, do one thing before you leave, hit that like button. It lets us know this content is helping you. Subscribe so you don't miss future guides that could change the way you see retirement. And most importantly, share this video with someone you care about, a friend, sibling, or parent, because everyone deserves the chance to feel peace of mind as they step into this stage of life. Retirement isn't the end. It's the beginning of a chapter where you finally get to live life on your terms. Start today, and let your future self thank you tomorrow.